We're back. Episode 3.
Right.
We're ready to do this. There's been so much going on. I've been dying to actually talk to you, to be fair, innit? Because there's been like a whole heap of shit happening since, innit? So where do we start, innit?
Bro, I don't really know, but I guess this weekend, like a lot happened this weekend, innit? There's a lot to unpack after this weekend, man. So like maybe start there. Like I feel like maybe the co-main event probably overshadowed the main event a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, Corey Sandhagen knocking out Frankie Edgar.
Oh, difficult to watch, man.
The way he fell as well, like, I mean, this was what it was like. What 30 seconds into the fight?
Yeah. Concerning, because he was stiffer than Ben Askren. You know what I mean? He was.
Do you know what though? No, what I will say is that like the way I've never seen anyone get knocked out cold like that and still manage to kind of cushion their fall with their own knee that was like fixed in place. If you see the way he fell, it's like his knee just stiff in it, like his whole body's stiff, and his knee kind of hit the mat first, and then it kind of cushioned. Didn't like when he got up, his face was calm. Do you know what I mean? So he didn't have no like bruises or nothing from face planting the canvas, and I thought that was
clean.
That
was clean. I wasn't even warmed up for that. I wasn't even ready for that because I think by the time Frankie come on, I was like, okay, cool. We're gonna. It's co-main because the rest of the card, apart from our guy, what's his name? The guy with the crazy flag fighting out. I think it's Boston.
Dariush.
That
was crazy fight. That was like a really, really good fight, man. I like that one a lot.
Methodical, and, steady is the fucking what's it called? Slow and steady, because he was putting it on him, and I like that fight, and that got me into it. And but by the time Frankie come, I was like, right, okay, it's go time. Actually, there's a few. The more I'm thinking about it, there's Michael, there's obviously Dariush, there's Frankie, there's obviously the main. So I mean, I think let's do it flip. Let's flip it round, because I think the obvious one is the main event. And I think we can quite clearly say that, you know, we touched on it a couple of times. We've touched on it in a couple of articles that'll be going up shortly about Overeem, you know, as far as what's the next step for Overeem. Because we talked about it last time, because whether he won this or not, he weren't going to be going for a title the next fight. He could have probably had another 2. If there was bastards, probably 3. But now looking at that performance, man, it was sad. Pretty sad to watch. Man.
Yeah, I mean, did you see the post he put out afterwards? I mean, a couple of days afterwards. So it was quite recent. It was maybe yesterday. I think I saw it. He put out a statement which sounded like he was going to fight again, which kind of surprised me, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much emphasis I want to even think about. I don't want to see it, and obviously, with his kind of output, should we say, I don't even know if he needs to do it anymore. Whether he can go to a different kind of promotion. I feel like because he's such a big name, every young gun's going to be gunning for him, literally. Every young gun's going to be like, here's the time for me to go up to the next level of kind of fandom and likes and all the rest of it. Because like we said last time, whoever's up against Overeem, he's going to blow up regardless of what happens, win, lose, or draw. But now it's quite clearly this is a lion in the Serengeti that's kind of, you know, I feel like he's had enough, man. Even the barrage, it was obviously a barrage, and that's a big motherfucker. That Volkov is huge.
Yeah, and he's got bigger as well. Like, he was always tall. You know what I mean? That man's not still growing, isn't it? Like, he was always tall, but he's put on a lot of muscle, man. Like, I think he weighed in close to, if not on the 265 limit, whereas before we see maybe like 240, 245 kind of, and I think he's put on like a good 10, 15, maybe even 20 pounds, and he's looking like, for want of a better word, thicker, isn't it? Like, you know what I mean?
Thicker.
Like, huge, man. He's looking like a real monster. So
and not even so like lumbering or labored in his output. Like as much again touched on it last time about this big and good for nothing kind of man thing I put on a lot of people, a lot of the heavier guys. I think he did really well, man. I think his output was really sensible. I feel like he showed tools and he showed IQ. And obviously he's not going to be the quickest guys. Obviously that's just what is it, physics, should we say? But the 1-2s were coming in with a nice pep, boom, 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 and I was like, oh snap! This is a problem.
When you got a guy with that frame, though, do you know what I mean? Like you can a lot of weight on a frame like that and not have it affect you in the same way as you know someone shorter or a little bit stockier. It might sort of labor them a little bit and they might look a little bit slower. But he did not seem to show any of that.
And he did well, man. He did really well. And as much as obviously, I think we'd seen him fight previously, but I'm obviously going to go back and really, really, really look now, innit? Because not saying that I thought Overeem was going to win, but I thought that he'd be able to kind of, I'll see you there, innit? But it was quite clearly a league ahead of him in everything, in every department: strength, output, thinking, being able to mix it up as well. Overeem had some ballistic overhands though, but it did look like it was touching him, man.
Man, but I mean, you texted me during the fight. Remember, you said that like from almost the word go. I think I got a text from you, and you was like, "Yeah, the killer instinct's gone."
It didn't look like it though. It looked like I want this to be over, man.
Yeah. No, for real. Like I was glad almost. Like not, you know, I'm a huge Overeem fan. Like we all are. I was almost glad a little bit when he went down. I was kind of like, okay, cool, enough's enough now. I didn't. Like from the word go, I was sort of thinking this ain't going well, and I don't really need to see a lot of this in it. So,
and how crazy is that to be like, sitting on the sidelines as a fan for like a 6 foot, to call it 6'5" guy, cage fighter? How could I feel sorry for a human like that? You know, I shouldn't, Bill, but but in that situation, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man, he looks like he just wants to go home and be with his family and kick it, man. All fair plays to him, innit? And I don't want to see him fight no more for the sake of, like we said before, about like those heavyweights taking that kind of damage isn't a thing you could be like, it was just a loss. It was just a loss. You know, I don't see, you know, Conor getting any issues with CTE from the banging he got from Dustin, for example. But fuck, you know, that the 1-2s he was dropping on old Alistair, man, nasty, and I don't want to see it again, man. So where's he gonna go? Different. Well, option one is stay where he is. Yeah, go on.
I think he's still on his contract, and I think his plan to at least fight his contract out. And when I say at least, that's a worrying. You know what I mean? Like I think
how
that's
much?
What he said.
How many?
I wouldn't even know off the top of my head, but I mean, it sounds like it's more than one, isn't it? Like,
boy.
And like, if he's gonna fight again, yeah, like I feel like at this point, man's had such a good career and it's been so successful, and you know he's a legend of the sport, got the respect of absolutely everyone. Give him a bum, give him a no one knockout. Like, do you know what I mean? Let him go out on a win. And like have that image of him in like be the last one in our minds as fans. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's all right at this stage. You're not getting the belt. We know he's not gonna be the UFC heavyweight champion. He's 40 years old.
Yeah.
Just got stopped by a younger fighter that just looked better in every area. Do you know what I mean? He just looked stronger, quicker, more had that killer instinct more. Do you know what I mean? Like he looked better in every area. He's not getting the title. Give him someone bum, bro. Sign someone
specifically
for the purpose of Alistair Overeem knocking him out. I'll be all right with that.
But the thing is with that makes, I'd love that. I'd prefer to see that. But would him, with the fighter's pride that he would have ingrained into him, he'd see that and be like, "You're giving me a touch here. You're trying to take the piss out of me. Do you know who I am?" And I could see him being in a position where he's like, I don't want that. I want a bigger name. And then a bigger name just equals a bigger battering at this point, you know? But again, it's MMA, it's the combat sports game. Anything could happen. He could turn and do one of these switch kicks to the face and it could be over. That, I mean, as far as his next fight, and who knows, we could be here saying, Actually, you know what? I don't think I'll ever say at this point, after seeing that, Overeems should do anything more. Like we said, we should. I think. I hope to see that he goes out on a good note. But even so, I won't remember this in a year's time, and I won't even probably think about it in a year's time. And we'll just look back at what Overeem did in all of his combat sports, not just in the UFC. And we'll put him in the. We'll salute him as we should do, and we'll forget about this loss and keep it moving, man. So, hats off to the guy, man.
He needs to realize that. I think he needs to realize that, and it's you know what I mean. Like, there's nothing left to prove. It's all right, mate. Sit down. It's all good. We're not gonna be like, you know what I mean. Like, I don't think he. I mean, I wouldn't have a clue, but I would maybe imagine that he's sort of thinking, well, I can't let that be my last fight. I can't let that.
Yeah, I think so. I reckon.
And I think to realize, maybe I should DM him in it and be like, look, mate, it's okay.
Holla. That's what I've been doing.
Well, yeah, no, you're loose with the DM thing. Finger on the DM, go crazy, bro.
Anything happen. I'll tell you know what, I sent the biggest paragraph, and after I slept on it, I probably said to myself, well, I didn't say it probably, I said to myself after I sent this big paragraph to Khalil Roundtree Jr. about, yeah, I know, I probably shouldn't have, it was super emotive, but that was so frustrating for me to watch that, because we all know he could have taken that. He could have done more. He could have given more, and it would have. I feel like actually, who am I to say? But I feel like as a fan of him, seeing him fight before, he's always got that kind of like, I'm in fourth, and that should be enough. I'm like, why do you even think that?
Yeah, no, I do see what you mean when you say like, who are you to say that kind of thing? But I mean, look, we're all fans, innit? And like, I'm a fan of. I mean, I don't want to say I'm not anymore, but like, I was before his last fight. And I've forgotten the name of the guy that he.
Oh shit! Yeah. I don't remember either.
But I remember watching that fight and being like, I was shouting at the TV, and that's not something I do. You know what I mean? I was, because he landed good shots, and it looked like he really could have done. Obviously, like you say, who are we to say we don't know? We're not in there with him. Can't feel what he feels. But it looked so much to me, and like, again, even the same thing. I had a conversation with you. I had a conversation with my brother. Like, we're kind of all on the same page that, like, yo, you could have done more there, man.
Like, it's quite
really, like, he looked like he could have done more, innit?
There was I think at least twice, maybe 3 times, when he had his guy rocked, and he could have stuck it into a gear and kept the pressure going. But there always seems to be this lack of either. I don't want to say killer instinct, because that's like the fucking go-to thing of like, oh, relax, killer instinct, that's a shot fighter, you should hang it up. Not to that degree, but he needed to just press. And if that means depleting yourself, that might not always be the smartest thing to do, but you're big enough, strong enough. If you deplete yourself, it's going to have a result, man. It's going to yield the result that you should be looking for. And like you said there, we are, I'm going to say we are still fans of Khalil, but after that performance, and then the subsequent Instagram live,
I didn't see that.
It was a pity party, man. It was super. He was in the hospital, probably getting his legs seen to or something seen to, and he was talking about thanks to the fans for supporting him, and long story short, he ended up in tears about just being overwhelmed by the occasion. I was like, yo, are you not living in Thailand? Are you not scrapping daily? What are you, what is it not clicking in your head that not only are you going to do that in the octagon, you're going to come out and kind of say it was this reason, it was that reason, it was every other reason other than I should have done more. And if he just said, yo, I thought that I was going to hold back because I thought I was doing well enough to take it in a later round, I would have been like, yeah, okay, cool. But he was just like, he didn't even kind of acknowledge that. He seemed to, like, it seemed like he was putting everything on the table and it just wasn't good enough. And he was like, I don't know what I'm going to do from here. Obviously, he's been dropped from like I don't know if he's ever been on a co-main, but he was out of the prelims at some point. He's now like...
His last fight, the prelims of the 257 of Conor's last he was on the prelims. I don't even know if he main evented the prelims. He might have done, but even that's
saying a lot. For somebody that seems to have that that depth of like pedigree and potential, and to not kind of show up at the times like he should have done. It's similar to a Cerrone, like plus however many years he's got on Cowboy, but like that kind of like lack of sticking on somebody is like it's sad to see, and it's dangerous as well, man. Not only are you gonna get kicked the shit out of, you're gonna take damage and take an L, put yourself back probably at least 6 months, maybe even a year, as far as your next steps are concerned. You're gonna just absorb more damage, man. I'm just like, it doesn't make sense, man. But again, that was kind of like a kind of ode to people that could have done more if they had it in the tank. I don't think Overeems got any more. I don't think he could have given any more. He was in his same kind of like wide stance and his head down, and the kind of like that broken rhythm of like kind of circling, then overhand, which it used to work, but it looks slow. It looked hella slow, man. It looked so slow.
I didn't like when he was like shelling up and sort
turning away.
Absorbing a lot of punches. I mean, some of them were getting through as well, because I mean, like you see Volkov use the uppercut come through the guard, and it was almost like you know when he would shell up and when he sort of felt that the sort of the flurry was over, he wouldn't do anything about it. He was sort of like there, and he was like, okay, is it over now?
What? Crazy mentality.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was like, okay, cool, I can just shell up, sort of take a little bit and then give it back. There was nothing to follow up with. He just sort of like waited for it to be over and then kind of thought, okay, let me just circle again and sort of try and sort of create some distance. And that was about it, really. There didn't seem to be too much.
Not enough. Nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough as far as like what we're kind of used to from Overeem, and nowhere near enough to be able to drop somebody of that big, of that size and of that caliber, and your main event, and you're talking about having a title shot. That's not of the level required to even speak about a Stipe, an Ngannou, or anyone of that nature in it. So fair play to him. He had a good shot. It would be interesting to see what he does next. But as far as kind of like, is it possible to come back into the shit? I don't think so. Don't like writing people off, but I don't think so, man.
No, I mean, look, like age has to play a factor in
100.
any athletic endeavor, especially fighting. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're 40 years old, isn't it? That's not 30, which is considered old to like a football. Whatever, you're not. I mean, it's like you're 40, isn't it?
It's a wrap out here. It's a wrap out here. So talking about age. What about old Frankie? Next in line. What about old Frankie, comparatively old Frankie? But you know the thing is with
he's 39.
Yeah,
he's
39, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about the exact same age. In 6 months' time, we're going to be talking about a 40-year-old Frankie Edgar. You know what I mean? It's
look, go on. I was going to say something disrespectful, but go on.
Okay, maybe don't, innit? Maybe don't. Man, just got all right. No, but like, okay. The problem with when you get knocked out like that, yeah, especially like a flying knee inside the first 30 seconds. The problem is there's the what if of if that didn't happen. Yeah. Like, I don't know, did Frankie? I think he might have thrown like a leg kick, and that's about it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, even if that, I'd have to go back and watch again, but I can't remember if he let a single strike fly. There's the problem of the what if that didn't happen. Do you know what I mean? It's like, even going back to the other flying knee that we all know and love, Masvidal. If Masvidal hadn't knocked him out with the very first movement of the fight, what would have happened? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's always kind of there, and I feel that's the problem with the Frankie Edgar knockout is it's sort of Overeem. We saw Overeem give it a go. We saw
had a crack,
and he had a crack, and he had 1.5 rounds, and it wasn't good enough. He came up short. Frankie didn't get that opportunity, so there's a part of me that sort of feels like, okay, if that hadn't happened, would he have done all right? Would he have? Do you know what I mean? Was it a matter of time anyway? If it hadn't happened in the first 30 seconds, was it going to happen at some point over the next 14 minutes? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I mean, to do apples for apples, as far as like flying knees are the new thing now, and like calf kicks are the new thing now. Whatever, apples for apples, as far as like Masvidal and Ben Askren versus Frankie and Sandhagen. For me, Ben Askren wouldn't have done anything other than he got his ass beat for longer if he didn't connect. But we can both say, I don't know. Actually, let me not speak for anyone. I feel like Frankie could have done. Frankie looked good. And what I was going to say is he looked well good in his walkout, though. Not in a disrespectful way, innit? Not in a disrespectful way, but he looked serious. He looked on it. He had a pep. He had a bounce. And he looked like it. And even as it come into the engagement, looked good. But the trap that he set for him was so 101. Obviously, the flying knee now is becoming more and more prolific. And yeah, okay, if you like lean in, have your chin out like that, and the guy's athletic enough, yeah, you're probably going to get it stuck on you. But it seemed that Sandhagen had that ready to go. Tested it. It's going to work. Executed it. See you later, mate. So Frankie's got a sick record still to this day, I think. I mean, as far as his age, obviously, I feel like he's definitely, I would like to see him go again. But he's got the backing of is he 22, 23, and now 6 or 5? You know, that's okay, man.
I mean, it's around them numbers. It don't look bad. Like I said, it's on paper. If you haven't seen the knockout from on paper, it looks fine. It really does look good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'd like to see him back, man. I think he can do a lot to a lot of the other people in his weight class. And again, Overeem, the reason why I'm kind of like pushing this Overeem now is he's not about to do anything against anyone else unless like you said, you bring in someone from the WWE for a quick one to get knocked out in front of everyone. Apart from that, he's gonna probably get his ass kicked, and nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, man. No, I think Frankie put out a post which again heavily implied, if didn't say exactly, that he's going to go again in it. So we will see Frankie again, which I'm quite happy with. I'm happy with that. I think Frankie's still got a lot to give. He's 39, but he looks fucking good for it.
He does, doesn't he? He does. And what's a 39-year-old look like? There's obviously it's that weird kind of like microscope that you look at, like professional sports full stop. I think Usain Bolt retired like in his 30s, and everyone's like, and Usain Bolt was like, yeah, I'm gonna just call it a day because nobody can have me, nobody can beat me. I don't want to get super injured, blah blah blah. So like we look at fighters and think, oh, you kind of passed it, but Frankie, to me, has still got something in him. I think he can still go. He's had wars, but I reckon he can still go, man. And I'd like to see him still go as well, especially, I don't know, that weight class as well. Maybe, let's not.
That weight class, fucking mad right now.
I know, I was going to say go up. I was like, no, let's not go anywhere. Let's not go anywhere.
Right now, bro, because obviously you got the title fight coming up, Jan versus Sterling. I mean, that's a sick fight. I think we sort of touched on it briefly last time. And we will go into it in a little bit more detail nearer the time. That's a sick fight, bro.
Yeah. Sandhagen wants his neck now. Have you seen how much he's okay. I already see I can have Jan. My fight is against Aljamain. I don't really care about Jan. Jan's kind of the paper champion right now, but really my business is with Aljamain Sterling, and rightfully so, because again, I want to see that come back now, because Sandhagen, like ever since you started talking about him, I was like, is he? And then I went back, I looked and I saw that Morales, whoops, that I was like, clean one. Now he's got the knee clean.
This is 2 fights in a row where he's essentially knocked man out without fighting him.
Yeah.
Just knocked 2 people out. He hasn't had a fight since Aljamain. And even the Aljamain fight, he was in there for a minute before he got choked out. Yeah. This guy hadn't been in a fight for a long time, innit? But he's just got out and then just knocked 2 people out.
Fresh.
And
ready to go.
His post-fight interview as well. That was sick, man.
I like it.
Where in the post-fight press conference and whatever, and he's basically just saying, look, like I'm getting the next title shot and I'm winning against either. Don't matter who it is, I'm gonna hurt both of them, innit?
I'm with it. And so you should. So you fucking should, innit? Not alone have you've got the highlights. You now collecting highlights now, and you've got the kind of you're ready to roll the dice and do those higher risk maneuvers. You're ready to do those more kind of like show stopping maneuvers, and not just for the sake of throwing it out there, setting traps, bringing them into it, and then executing it. I'm like, whoa, you're looking good, man, looking real tasty. But can the human backpack, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
I still feel like he's the guy, man.
I really do love Aljamain Sterling. I think he's such a fighter, man. And I kind of want. I mean, I wanted him to be Jan prior to this.
Yeah.
But knowing that that's the fight to make if he does win, he's got to do it now, man. Like, I want to see a rematch so bad. I really, really want to see that rematch, man. I really want to. And listen, bro, it's almost takes us nicely into another topic, actually, which I don't want to sort of get too ahead of ourselves. But if we're talking about 135, I think you know who we got to mention.
Go on.
TJ, man.
Oh, flip it, no. Dillashaws. Dillashaws.
He's in a weird position right now. And this is the thing, right? This is why I would hate to be Dana White. I mean, I would actually love to be Dana White. But it's a difficult job. It's a difficult job because as a fan, I mean, I'm down to see. I would love to see Sandhagen versus Dillashaw right now. I'd love to see that fight tomorrow, bro. I would love to see Jan or Sterling versus Dillashaw right now.
All of them.
But that, if you're Dana White and you make really any of those fights, you've almost taken the integrity of the sport and put it in the trash, bro.
Chopped it off.
You know what I mean?
It off, man.
You're kind of part of every single person in that sort of top 3, top 4 by just saying, okay, you got caught doing some of the most
strongest ones.
The strong ones. Strong ones, isn't it? Doing some of the most frowned upon PEDs in the sport. And we're just gonna okay, you've done your suspension, back where you left off, pick up where you left off, innit? It's a bit.
You know, the thing is, all right, probably like a question maybe rolled into a bit of my opinion. Like, I feel like with Dillashaw, obviously I don't know, but I don't feel like his performance and his output is going to drop dramatically post PEDs. Who knows? I think that Cody Dillashaw situation, mentally, he needed to know and stand there with like that kind of like, I'm going to trump you regardless of whatever you do. And I'm not saying that obviously it had physical implications and it must have increased his output by X, Y, Z percentage that took him over the line and done really well on X, Y, Z. But I feel like even Dillashaw coming back right now, whenever he does come back, I don't feel like we're going to see a sucked out, saggy, low testosterone, not doing much, no killer instinct Dillashaw. I reckon he's going to still stick on a lot of these people, man.
This is a question, though, that we're never going to know this, innit? And we can't ever, there's only one person or a handful of people that know the answer to this question, and that's TJ Dillashaw and his camp. But how long was he doing it for? Was this something he did? Was this something he did because his last fight was at 125 pounds, the first time he got down to that weight? And even beforehand, everyone was like, yo, are you sure, bro? Are you okay?
Dangerous.
You barely make 135. What the fuck? And maybe, I'm not saying this is what I believe or whatever, but it's just, a thought that was that the reason that he did it? Was he thought, okay, this is the only way I can get down to, and if you ask him, of course he's gonna say, he's not gonna be like, oh no, mate, I was doing it my whole career. Of course he's gonna say, yeah, it was for that one time I got caught was the one time.
yeah.
Of course he's gonna say that. But there's that is kind of believable in the sense that, okay, you needed that little something to get down to that weight.
Right. And tell me if I'm totally in the totally wrong ballpark here, but from what I understand of PEDs, as well, obviously you're going to be able to try and sneak into the ring, but for PEDs to be ingested and then for it to be active in your system at the time of a fight, from what I understand, I've read, it's like not so much the in the ring performance that's going to be massively increased. It's the recovery time during camp that you can keep on going during camp.
I mean, especially the specific one that he did was EPO, and that, I think, again, I'm certainly not the best person to talk about this, and I don't know a great deal about it. But from what my understanding is, it essentially like it sort of increases like red blood cells and your endurance and your stamina in training to drop weight and to recover and to be able to go again the next day and keep pushing your body to get that weight off. I think that was certainly what he sort of tried to kind of I don't want to say disguise it as, but that's what he sort of.
It makes sense though. It makes a lot of sense for me, and I've always been team no love, always. So and even when it happened, remember we was talking, I was like, fuck this guy, I knew it, no, hating. But that story makes a lot of sense for him to do that dramatic cut and then think, okay, what am I going to be able to do to get myself to that point? I'm not saying that it was the only time. It probably was more than one time. If you think you're clever enough to get away with it once and you got away with it once, probably you're going to slide it in there again. But it makes a lot of sense that he done it for that particular situation because of the physical demands that it would take for him to drop. Even I'd never see him. I don't know. He's of BMI, for example, but he don't look like he carries around nothing anyway. So it's like fucking hell. Like to get a smaller man, smaller. It's like that must be something else. And that's not to say, yeah, it's okay, and yeah, you should have done it. To me, that kind of tarnishes his whole. It tarnishes everything for me. It, like as far as like when he hangs up his gloves, say, it's always going to be that like, really, I'm not too sure if I can take you seriously because you're a cheat, and I don't fuck with cheating, especially in that situation. But as far as the rest of the division, as far as where he can go next, it's going to be so telling what, like you said, the matchmakers and Dana do to where they place him now, because he's still a big name, and all of the wars he's been through, he has that draw now. He's got that star quality. He's got that draw. He's got that talk. He's got all of the everything you need to be that big draw now. And I would still pay for a pay-per-view for a Dillashaw fight, even as much as I don't like him. You know. So
yeah, I completely agree, man.
Difficult one.
I completely agree. It's yeah, like I say, it's a difficult decision to make, and I guess as a fan, there's almost no wrong answer, because I'll get it either way. If they come out and it's sort of the fighters that are really sort of the ones that have got to look at this closely and sort of scrutinize it if necessary. Because
they must be pissed.
Like as a fan, I'll get either way. If they put him in for a title shot, I'm like, well, I can see why the fighters will be pissed, but I'm with it, man. I'm happy to watch that. Happy to see how it all plays out. If they put him a little bit further back in the rankings, give him someone, say, top 10 to top 5, I'll get it. I'll be like, okay, cool. I understand that. And you sort of did what you had to do, kind of thing. So,
and even for the individual, bro, even for TJ himself, okay, put me back into a title shot. A title shot is still the worst possible situation you could have as far as what you got to do to win that fight. So even if there weren't no belt there, putting him in the top echelon of the top 3 or even the champ, that's a huge test. And psychologically, he's got to be asking himself, what is it going to be like? Because if he has been taking him and that's got him to where he's going, that's a huge test. That's a huge test, man. So I'm like, either way, it's cheating is cheating. I don't like it. It fucks up the integrity of everything. But even for the individual, that's a huge test for TJ himself. And I personally, if it was up to me, I wouldn't give him a title shot next. I'd give him a top contender, top 5, and then we'd see it. And as well as that, if we see it, he'd gauge himself and he'd know what he can do post. And I think that will give him more confidence to go on and do the belt and go for the title shot. So it kind of like, for me, that would win both ways. And it will keep some of the integrity of, like you said, the ranking system and how the matchmaking works. And as well as that, what's there to lose for Dillashaw? It'll still be a big event. He's still going to be main or co-main, regardless of if he's cheated or not, you know. And I think people are going to forgive him quick, man, because he came out and he was just like, yeah, that was me, you know.
He's happy to play the heel anyway.
Yeah.
He's happy to play the heel. Even in the Cody, the whole thing with like Team Alpha Male and him and Dwayne Ludwig going sort of starting or anything or whatever. He was happy, and then Connor called him the snake in the grass. And man went and got a tattooed on his arm, bro.
I fucking know, yeah, I didn't even put those together.
Guy, innit? You know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
And I think, like, in a weird way, this almost just like adds to it. And it's like it's the same as John Jones, bro. Like, with all of the bullshit that John Jones has done, it's when he's being a prick, innit? That we like the most as fans of John Jones. I don't want to see him being like Mr. Nice Guy and like everything, like, you know, I'm just a humble, God-fearing man trying to...
You're lying. You know what I mean? Get out of here.
Like, you're a prick, man. But I'm
just
up because I'm better than all of you, and you can't do nothing about it.
I ain't trying to hear that.
I want to hear from John Jones, innit? You know what I mean? And I think TJ kind of falls into that same category of like sort of making some questionable decisions, but at the end of the day, that's his character, man. So yeah.
He can ride it out, man, and he could have a comeback, and he could have a legitimate career from going on. But as far as, I don't feel like he was ever in the best ever or the GOAT talks. But yeah, he's always going to have a stamp on this generation in his weight classes, and he's always going to be a top contender. And let alone the kind of the run-ins with Cody, the run-ins with Connor. Love all that shit, man. Love it all, and it does nothing but benefit the kind of entertainment element of the sport. And I'm super with it, man. So I mean,
funnily enough, Cody called it from way back.
Yeah. He did.
Guys on everything. And
because it's the traps. It's the traps. It's the traps.
DJ was like, you know, when you kind of have to like make a joke of it just so you don't lie. He was like, oh yeah, I'm on everything. Oh, of course I am. Trying to make a joke of it, and it's like, you didn't actually say you were.
He did deny it. He didn't deny it. He can't be called a liar. We'll give him that. He definitely can't be called a liar, innit? But that's all good, man. Where would you put him as far as when he comes back, whatever time period that is? Where do you want it? Top 3, champ, title shot. Where's he going?
Not a title shot because there's so much going on. If we're talking about a division that doesn't have a lot of depth and it doesn't have too many questions around the title, then maybe I could sort of understand it a little bit more. And even then, I'm sort of like hesitant to say, oh yeah, then I would, because we've always talked about it. It does kind of put a little bit of a stain on the integrity of the sport. And so like I wouldn't give him a title shot. But if they made Sandhagen versus, because I mean, the Jan and Sterling fight is in what, like 2 weeks or something like that, or is it longer? It's a few weeks anyway. It's a few. The chances are Sandhagen doesn't sit out for the rest of the time between now and his next. I feel like he's gonna go one more before he gets the title.
Yeah.
Who better than TJ?
It makes hella sense, man. And as well as like the kind of the story, the build up, the anatomy of a fighter, the embedded, and that kind of distaste that he's quite clearly got for the cheater. Good ammunition, man. Love it. I would watch that all day, man. And I would love to see how it pans out. And then TJ wins
as a style matchup. As a style matchup. Style matchup. Dick, man. You've got 2 great strikers and like. You got someone who's a little shorter, but sort of more well muscled in TJ, and a sort of the tall, lankier guy that, I mean, like obviously I don't want to make comparisons too much, but like Izzy himself, he's a very tall, kind of lanky guy, and we see strikers do very well with that kind of frame. I think that's a great style matchup as well. Just like forget about the fact that like everything you just said about the whole personal kind of disdain for cheaters that Sandhagen has, and the whole sort of bad guy character that TJ's kind of fallen into. Like, I'm with that, man. I think that's what I would do.
It's got to be tasty either way again, and that's not even adding on what we'd already talked about for the first quarter of 2021 in the UFC. So this is already adding more off of the back of one event. Obviously, you got what happened to Alistair. Cool, forget about it. But what we've got out of it is it's worthwhile, man. And to maybe segue into the two. I know that like I don't want to keep on bringing it back to fucking Conor, innit? But what you touched on earlier about the heel and no more Mr. Nice Guy. For me, I've been seeing, obviously he's tweeted it now. I'm looking at that like another excuse. You were drunk last time, but this time you're being too nice. This is why. Because it was like, are you trying to tell me that you didn't turn on your finishing, your killer instinct? You didn't stick it on him because you liked him and respect him too much as a person? You said you was going to punch him in the face in 60 seconds and he will be on the yacht before the half an hour was done. So if you want to talk to me about like no more Mr. Nice Guy, you weren't even being that nice, to be fair, innit? So like where are we going with this? Is this like, another reason why we can now build up another story to be like, Conor was being respectful, and because he was respectful, look what happened. Now he's gonna be nasty. Now he's nasty. He's gonna.
I gotta be honest. I feel like you're being a bit harsh here. Like,
I am.
I go from one to the other. Like I feel like you're being normal, Mr. Nice Guy. Right? I feel like you're being a tiny bit harsh because. Don't get me wrong. If everything that you've just said is what Conor and his team are sort of thinking, like okay, like let's sort of do damage control and put out some next storyline or whatever. Fair enough. I didn't personally get from that post. Oh, that's why he lost. Do you know what I'm saying? Sure. I sort of got like, okay, cool. You flipped the switch mentally now because you realize that you got work to do. And you're like, okay, I'm done with being nice. I'm just gonna be the killer that I know I can be, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I got from it. And whether I'm right, I don't know. Whether it can even happen, whether it's even possible, whether he's got it in the tank, I don't know. But I feel like that was some like mad judgmental shit. Like,
it was. But it's like the kind of as a fan of McGregor. Like I can't help but feel like the battered wife, shall we say, that keeps on making excuses to continue to be a fan. I've had enough. Is what it is. And the thing is, what you said there makes perfect sense. So if it's a personal decision to be like, he's now understood something, the pennies dropped and cool. Why is Coach K saying that he's never seen Conor in as peak condition as he has been? What could you have done more? How many more miles could you have run?
There's a difference between physical condition and mental condition.
But as far as the kind of brush to the side what you've got to say for a fight promotion, and Conor's the master of selling a fight and saying the right things to sell a fight. Cool. But I always feel like his best work is his most honest work. And we've always seen the most honest expression of himself when he performs in the ring, and his honest expression in outside of the ring. Whether he be talking to Jose Aldo, doing all this and doing all that, it's very honest. So if you're saying to me now that Coach K has co-signed him, like he's looking like a fucking killer, even though he's got a yacht, you're looking like you're running up them stairs when you've got a yacht, and you're waking up in silk sheets. There's nothing changed between the hunger that you had then and the hunger that you have now. And you're trying to say to me, I lost, therefore there's something more I can do to bring a better performance out of me. So if that's like, I shouldn't shake a guy's hand and say, your hot sauce is sick, because that fucks up my my output. What they're saying to Anthony Joshua, they're saying to Anthony Joshua now, he would be twice as successful, twice the killer, if he wasn't as much of a gentleman as he was. Yo, allow it, man. Allow it. Don't tell me that you're now, the penny's dropped and he's gonna be like, now I'm gonna go, my hunger's gone to a whole nother level because I lost. Yo, you just weren't good enough. it might have been on the day, and if we had an infinite cycle of outcomes, so say if that was a sparring chest, you had a bad spar one day, he's gone into the ring, taken like a spar, and he had a bad day in the gym, and the next day he's had a good day. Cool. That's no one's problem.
I'm gonna take your mind back to something that GSP said after Conor lost to Dustin. He said that Conor needs to find one reason in his mind that he lost. Whether it's true or not, he needs to find a reason and convince himself that that is the reason he lost and overcome that. And that's how he said the same. He said that he had, from personal experience, losing to, I can't remember if it was Matt Hughes or Matt Serra, but he said, in my head, I convinced myself the reason that I lost was because I didn't take it seriously. I didn't take the threat seriously enough, and I thought it would be easy or whatever.
Yeah.
And whether that was true or not,
it was enough.
It was enough for me to believe I could win again. Do you know what I mean? Okay. And I feel like that might be partly what he's kind of going for there. Like, not necessarily consciously, but do you know what I'm trying to say?
100%. I fully understand. And I'm only as mad as I am because I'm that much of a fan as I am, right? So 100% legitimate what you said, whatever the reason is. But how many reasons do you need? Because last time I checked, it was the calf kicks. It was the calf kicks. What? How many do you need? How many do you need? How many do you need?
No, but that's you can't compare a mental reason with what actually happened in the fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say, oh yeah, it was just the calf kicks alone, like, because that then just opens up a whole other range of questions. Like you even said yourself in the last episode, you're not going to check one. You're not going to check one of those. Nah, fundamentals. Do you know what I mean?
So it's crazy. Like,
and also, listen. One thing we've also got to remember. Part of, and not the only reason, but part of the reason why Conor is who he is because he's a marketing genius. He's a marketing genius, bro. And whether you're sitting there like me with sort of more of an open ear, or sitting there with you with a critical eye, people have seen this, and it's. I mean, we're talking about him again.
Yeah, this is the. It doesn't matter because an L is an L and a W is a W, but that's it. When I hear people say that, and when I've literally just heard you say that, you know how I thought about instantly, because people refer to this person in that light because of a multitude of things. Katie Price. People say to me that Katie fucking Price. Hold on. People say. I've heard people say she's a marketing genius. She's a business this. She's a doing this. She's premeditated with that. I'm like, hold the fuck up a minute. The dice have fell favorably for you, and you've used what you've used your natural assets and gifts to the maximum of their ability. No one's taking that away from you. But to try and tell me you're a marketing genius, I honestly don't feel like it's so much of a case of marketing genius, because that becomes premeditated to me. That's like you've gone in here with a kind of, I'm going to say this to get this. And like I said, what I keep on harking back to is the honesty in the words and the expression physically as well. So I've obviously, we said this bare times.
You're honestly trying to sit here and tell me that Conor's not a marketing genius?
Only for the reason that to me signifies a premeditated something or other. And I feel like he always goes into these things. I could be totally out of the park. I could be totally sold on how glitz and glamour and how great he is. I feel like he goes and sits down without a script, unscripted as we're doing now, and he just talks from the chest. And I feel like that's what got him to where he is, because he truly believed it. And obviously Conor took a big L. And one of the most kind of glaring things to me that I saw in the embeddeds and the build up to the Dustin 2 is his he said that he got a sports psychologist in to kind of reaffirm and kind of to deal with a trauma of a huge loss. If we want to talk about when does it happen before, there's things that we've heard recently that, like, say Chael Sonnen has come out and said he went to a sports psychologist and he got hypnotized to get that kind of killer instinct going. And Mike Tyson said that what's his game? No, I'm again fucking. I've lost his name. But his trainer and his coach hypnotized him to get into that groove and that way of thinking, that killer instinct. I truly believe that it's a case of you can look at the output and the L's and the stats and whatever. I think that Conor was just being himself and he was being honest. If you step out yourself and you're looking at your career or looking at anything in life with kind of like I should do this now and this is what I should do now, that fucks up everything. So if Conor I don't like the idea of him being a marketing genius because he's a fighter. He's a fighter that believes in his own abilities, and I feel that turned into perfect PR, perfect embedded, perfect hype train, the people's champion, having Ireland behind him, bringing Europe behind him, everyone behind him, because I just feel like it's honest. And for me to hear, I agree that the end result is marketing gold, but I don't feel like it's premeditated. And if Conor's now removed himself like not an out of body experience, but if he's looking at his own career and thinking, what should I do now? What should I say now? That removes the honesty from it. And I think by removing that, there's a kind of premeditated, you're overthinking it. And I feel like he overthought that fight with Dustin and he didn't perform in his most honest way, because it's just like, it seemed to be like, oh, I'm going to do this because I think I can do this now. He didn't seem to be like fully engaged with it. But again, alas, I digress, because we're trying to, like, as far as we don't need to talk about Conor all day, but for me, like, it's again, not Katie Price and Conor McGregor are not the same thing or even the same universe, but it's when you look at something and say, oh, you're a genius for that. But it was like right time, right situation, dice rolled, all of those elements come together, and the output was either, it was a good output. And then you could put whatever title you want on at the end in hindsight, but I feel like the honesty is where my kind of issue lies with that. And for me, I thought the calf kicks was what GSP said as far as the reason, his reason to go back and say, I know what to do to win, understand the calf kicks. And then on top of that, you're going to say to me, oh, it's a mental thing because I didn't take him seriously enough because I respect him too much as a person and blah, 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 blah. You need to be able to perform in any situation, good day, bad day, hangover, not, you need to perform. And if that if that's the splitting factor between the top 5, I think he's now 6 or 7 now. Okay, cool. If he's had his time, cool. If he can't get back into where he's going, it must be hard. It must be super hard to have that same hunger, that same drive in the position he's in. Not being, like we said, the Ian Beals of fighting and be a working fighter. You've made it, bro. People look at Conor and say, oh yeah, he's only had a couple of fights and he fought Mayweather. We was talking about him. I remember I spoke to you about him outside work one time. I was like, have you seen this Irish guy? And before I even knew what man's name was, I was like, bro, have you seen what he's doing? That was donkeys ago, fam. Man's putting the work in it. And like, obviously Twitter fingers is a dangerous thing. And obviously I'm not going to put too much emphasis on it, but like, for me to say I'm now going to be nasty and I need to be nasty to get to where I need to go. You were nasty to fucking Khabib and you got beat up, man. What are you saying? What? How much nastier could you be?
Yeah, he was also fucking drunk against Khabib.
Drunk as shit. Just drunk as a motherfucker. Oh man, but yeah. Again,
I feel like we should have a rule on this show that we don't speak about Conor more than sort of 2 weeks ago, because
it can happen every time. It can happen every time. It could be a hair. It could be a haircut. I'll be like, oh, you know, Ortega's trimmed his hair now like Conor, and it'll be another half an hour on Conor. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Listen. We've seen Conor and Tony Ferg cut their hair and get the shit kicked out of them. So
ooh-wee. That don't work.
Ortega did well to put on such a performance after a 3 minute. So that makes it even more impressive in my mind. What he did is even more impressive.
That's what I mean. So I mean, like to flip it on his head, say, and as far as the kind of regardless of what happens behind the scenes, is for me, there's an element of like, it doesn't matter because what happens in the octagon is a whole different story. You know, we was talking about Ngannou last week, and my kind of like say my weight was leaning towards not so much into it because of his output. Have you seen the most recent JRE? Have you seen him on Joe Rogan? Have you seen the interview?
Most of it, not in full. Most of it.
Man, like obviously now seeing that, and I'd imagine it would be a story similar to that. I can like somebody as much as I want. His stock can rise, stock can fall, whatever. But it's for me, there's an element of it doesn't really matter, because if you're still going in there and windmilling everyone in the ring, I don't care about your sob story. I don't care about your come up story, because that's why I'm not gonna say Conor, but people like Conor were the best of both worlds, you know, because of the output. And like Conor's story wasn't even that deep or that original or that like kind of heartfelt or like thought-provoking. It's a regular life, regular, you know, British life, should we say? Working, kind of regular things. So it's not, it don't really matter about the story, but the honesty in the output, the honesty in the execution, the performance is what for me took it to another level. It wasn't even so much the chat. The chat was just a cherry on top. But with Ngannou now, I like him as a person, should we say, so much more than prior than watching the JRE. Amazing story. But
I've always liked Ngannou as a person. I mean, not only is he obviously one of the scariest individuals in the world,
human beings, whoop, allow me,
but also one of the nicest, bro. Like he's always seemed like a properly nice, humble, all round great guy, innit? And like, you know, I'm kind of on your wave of you know, like you say, you're talking about the output and the windmilling people and the skill set. And I mean, and listen, obviously it does it change? I mean, yeah, I'll ask you this. Does it change the conversation a little bit when we talk about him having his first ever MMA lesson, training session, full stop, in what, 2013, did he say?
Crazy.
Does that change the conversation a little bit when you talk about, you know, obviously I know you're a fan of that, the sweet science, should we say? And when, you know, we talked about before that sort of that clip of the first Stipe fight where Stipe's head movement just looks ridiculous and Ngannou sort of doesn't really have an answer for it, and you can almost see Ngannou there thinking, fucking just stay still, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah, stand there.
You know what I mean? But like, so I get that, I do get that. But to achieve what Ngannou, and listen, you can't do it in any other division than heavyweight, full stop.
Yeah, no way.
In heavyweight, to achieve what Ngannou has in 8 years, you're on the brink of your second UFC title shot with 8 years of MMA experience, training, fighting, full stop. It kind of changes the conversation a little bit for me. You know what I mean? Like I would love to be sitting here talking to you about someone who started training 8 years ago after coming from being homeless in Paris and all that. And now they've got the skill set of a Stipe, or even someone like an Edson Barbosa. If they're knocking people out with spinning heel kicks, and I'd love to. It's just not going to fucking happen, though, is it?
Won't happen.
It's not going to fucking happen. So, given that, I kind of do, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of sort of looking at Ngannou with a less critical eye when I'm looking at his sort of technique of the sweet science and his sort of technique. I'm looking at him with a little bit less of a critical eye. It's
hard not to. It's very, very difficult to detach the two things for me. And it's exactly like you said. You can't help but you know, pick a side based off of what you kind of either personally see as a personality trait that you adhere to or you'd want to be like, or even if you're watching, you're trying to like almost vicariously live through that person, you know, oh, if things were different and that's what I would have liked to have do. That's who I'd like to aspire to be, and X, Y, Z. It's hard to kind of separate the two. I definitely understand that. Yes, watching that interview with him has kind of taken up my adoration, should we say, for him, like a couple notches. But for me, it shouldn't enter for me, like the UFC belts, all the UFC belts is to me saying you're the best in the world, regardless of anything, because this is a top echelon of mixed martial arts. So you're the best in the world. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I'm trying, I almost kind of try to be like, whoa. We're talking about that you're supposed to be the best on the planet. Is the best fighter on the planet the strong, bulldozing, naturally gifted person. Because ideally for me, it will be the combination of both, and that is Stipe. That's Stipe. He's got the knockout. He's got the speed. He's got the movement. He's got the technical ability. And I don't know how long he's been doing it, but I know it's nowhere near as long as Ngannou's been doing it. It's very short, and you're naturally gifted. That's giving you the kind of jump up. And even with Anthony Joshua, I think Anthony Joshua started in his 20s, and as far as his kind of like maturity in the ring, he's still working. He's still progressing. But I'm like, Ngannou's a strange one for me, because it's almost like I got to kind of like pump the brakes and be like, he wouldn't. No, again, that goes down the road of like woulda, coulda, shoulda, blah, 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 blah. I don't think he's going to beat Stipe. The closer it gets to it, the more I remember about Stipe, because Stipe doesn't make it easy for you to be engaged with him. Sheerly off of the kind of, you got to want it. And, you know, there's going to be people that are like, I don't even know what, Stip? Milk, who's who? I don't know who's that guy. I don't even know what that guy is. I don't know who he is. That's cool. But like,
honestly, we got like, you know, even with Ngannou, like this is probably the hardest heavyweight title fight to pronounce.
ever. Yeah, those guys are different, man. It's just, yeah. I just wanted to say, because that interview did. It always touches me when I see a fighter go on there, get a bit more in depth and get a bit more kind of understand of where they come from. But he's had a story, man. He's had the fucking tough old life, and it's like trial by fire. So actually, I could look at it and say, because of the kind of physical work, maybe it's not a gift. Maybe you've just been forged in a kiln of
the fucking sand mine since he was 10 years old, bro.
10 years old.
Like, you don't want to see me when I was 10, innit? Like, you know
I was wearing a Sonic the Hedgehog. You know what I mean? Regular.
To work in a sand mine, I would have quit in 3 minutes flat. No, don't want to do this.
Yeah, I'll be asking for my mother. I'll be like, when am I going to get picked up for my biscuits and juice? Because I ain't about this. I'm not about this at all. But again, so I could and probably should look at it like, he's been sculpted and formed out of the most harshest environments, should we say? Not harshest, but it's very physically demanding environments. Lack of food, lack of anything. And then he's chosen to define himself by like, okay, I'm now doing this. And I always respect it, but I still feel like the martial artists should be able to out-trump anything like that. But if in reality I'm wrong, that doesn't happen, so be it. I feel like I learn every time that there's a big fight like this, or fights in general. I learn something almost about life. That might sound too fucking philosophical, but like when I see a shorter guy fight a taller guy, I'm like, oh, is that the maximum what like we can do? Is that what it would look like? Is that how it would be? You know, and I'm just like, I take a lot from it and probably look at it too deeply, but at the same time, it's like, I need to see a real array of tests within the division. And to sum it up, like you said, if DC was still knocking about, I don't think any of these guys would have they wouldn't be able to say much to him, innit? Obviously, Stipe has banged him out, but like, it's cool. It's
like twice, isn't it?
Just brush over that, but I like DC a lot. But yeah, it's cool, man. It's all mad.
Yeah, man. Love the DC in it, man.
Trust, he's having the best time of his life now, and he can't even fit into his shirts no more. Bless his heart.
Listen, why would you, innit?
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
You know what I mean? Like he's like, yeah, if there's ever a time to just say fuck it, I'm gonna have that extra piece of cake or whatever it is. If there's ever a time, it's now, innit?
Trust me. So what this weekend is Burns and Usman, 16th of February, and as well as that.
We're in lockdown, fam. I don't even know what month it is. I don't even know what day of the week. I just Google UFC and then look at the cards coming up in the next. You know what I mean? Like, I don't look at it like, oh, Saturday, yeah, like cool. And I don't know what
this is something else I wanted to say to you as well. Like, as far as like, you know, people that are locked in and people that are engaging with this, I find as a fan of combat sports in general, the kind of what fights on, who's fighting, who should I care about, is there a story? I feel like we're going to be able to not only kind of summarize all of the kind of intel, should we say. You can come to us and we'll be able to tell you that on this weekend, you go to BT Sports and it's either a pay-per-view or it's not. This is what you got to do, and you can watch it and hopefully drive some more eyes into the, especially from people in the UK as well, to drive some more eyes into watching what I think is the best sport on the planet, you know. So as anyone locked into Kabwham and checking us out on the socials, we're going to be doing a lot more of that over the next coming weeks and months. And you know, once you've subscribed, should we say, you can get notifications on your email. This fight's on this weekend, whether it's boxing, jiu-jitsu, even some of the Polaris fights that are still going on. You know, I feel like this is going to be the one-stop shop for everything like that. So everyone that's watching, we thank you in it. So, but like, you know, it's gonna be a case of we're gonna be trying to give you as much as we're pouring into this as well. You know, it's gonna be a two-way thing.
100%, man. And like the love that's already been shown up until this point on you know, socials, Instagram, and whatever you like, we appreciate it as well. That's the always appreciate it, man.
Trust
and
me.
like, you know, hope you enjoyed us talking shit about fights, bro. Like, because that's what we love to do, innit?
That's what we be doing. That's what we'll be doing all day, you know, and I think there's going to be something in that for everyone as well, you know. So, and as well as that, we're going to be putting up, because you know, me and you like to have a little bit of a roll of a dice and a bit of a bet every time, you know, to make it a bit more spicy every time there's a big event. Or we'll be putting up the odds and on probably some of the better ones, the bigger ones anyway. Bet365, William Hill, all of those guys, letting you guys know if you had a little spin, should we say, what you'd be getting back in return. And I think that. You've done well so far as predicting them. You know, I think
I've done okay. Not necessarily. Listen, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't been to the window and put my money down and bought a ticket to prove it. You know what I'm saying? I just said it. I don't necessarily put money on it. But yeah, no, I've done okay. I tell you what. Do you know what? Like, this is just my my favorite gambling, because I don't gamble in it. I really do not gamble. The one time that I will is if it's a fight and the odds are nice enough to get sort of £15 back off £1, innit? That's my only kind of entry into that world, innit? But Max Holloway, I tell you what, Max Holloway knocking out Brian Ortega in the 4th round, TKO in stopping Brian Ortega in the 4th round, that did well for me. I remember watching that fight and I'm thinking, okay, I've got £1 on Max Holloway to stop him in the 4th, and I'll get like £20 back or something like that. And I remember watching it after the 3rd round. He's beat the shit out of him for 3 rounds. And he comes to the desk and he says to Joe and DC and he goes, I'm knocking him out this round. And I'm like, please do it. Dude, that would be ideal, Max. Please do it. And then he beats the shit out of him for another round. The 4th round's going. And then the bell goes. I'm like, oh, well, that would have been nice and whatever. Doctor steps in. That's it.
Done.
Like, Max, you are forever my guy, innit? Forever my guy, man.
Trust me. So
and also, actually, that's what another thing that I was going to say is we're going to be putting up UK odds, because this whole American plus 160, minus 180, I don't know what the fuck that means. I know that plus is underdog and minus is favorite, and the bigger the number, the more so you're a favorite, or the more so you're an underdog, you know. But I don't know how that works. I don't know how much I'd get back from it. If you say to me like, oh, 2-1, I know how much I'm getting back from a particular bet. Where if you say to me, oh, he's a plus 160 underdog, I don't know what the hell that means, innit? So for the UK followers, we're going to be putting up a UK odds system.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you know, you can understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be watching this thinking, I know exactly how the American odds work. These lot are just dumb, innit?
You goddamn fools.
That may be the case. But you know, for the rest of you, we'll put up the UK odds, innit?
Each to their own, innit? So I mean, the socials are up. Kabwham Combat with a C. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on Instagram, and we've got www.kabwham.com even, which we've got articles that we're building. We're going to have obviously the full monthly events of what's going on. One-stop shop for everything fight related, whether it be any discipline, you know. And obviously we've got a UK-centric kind of perspective, should we say. So we're going to be reaching out to a lot of the up-and-coming fighters very soon to try and get them on the show, try and have a chat to them, see what they're about, see what their story is. And we'll ask the questions that we're asking each other now, you know. How much does the story play into it? And how much does your story lead to you kind of being successful in your chosen discipline anyway? So, you know, again, I don't want to say thank you for watching, but it's going to be another episode real soon. And we've been arcing on for a minute now. So the thing we need you guys to realize the most, or not realize, Usman Burns, February 16th. That's this weekend on BT Sports. We'll be posting it all throughout the week. And I tell you, it's going to be a smoker, an absolute smoker. Knockdown, drag out, should we say.
And as we always do as well, we like to give our picks, which, to be fair, like I can't speak for you, but if you want to make some money, maybe just do the opposite of what we say. Do you know what I mean? However, for this weekend, that might be a little difficult because I know for a fact you've got Burns.
100%.
I would love him to do it. I really would, but unfortunately, I do think Usman's going to do it. I think Usman's going to retain his belt, which will, interestingly enough, mean he sets a new record for longest win streak in the welterweight division. Him and George St. Pierre currently. I don't want to see him break George St. Pierre's record. I mean, I don't mind Usman. He's like, the respect for him I have is crazy. But that's George St. Pierre. That's my guy in it. So I don't want it to happen. But unfortunately, I think it will, innit? I think it's going to be another one under the belt for Kamaru.
And as we know, you have to be continually open to the idea of having your heart broken many, 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 many times. The ever-changing landscape. How confident we were, say, but at the beginning of last month versus where we're at now it's like chalk and cheese. And that's why we love it. And you can't call it, but we'll give it our best shot to do so.